Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. Well, here we are at the end of July, end of a pens in use month. This month, my theme, small nibbed pens, gone really well. I've even brought in some additional pens this month. So join me now, down on the table. We'll rank my initial 6 pens, then I'll briefly discuss the additional pens that I brought in. Welcome down to the table. So July 2024, my small nibs month. Started the month with the Tasmanian Golden Sassafras, a Parker Jotter, a Majohn C3, the HongDian The Light of Hope, Kaweco Sport, and a Scheffer Prelude, which I managed to spell Scheffer wrong. Let's move back to the top. So one thing I want to say really about all the pens this month, they've all been small nibbed and they've written, for the majority, they've written really well. So it just proves really you don't need a large nib, you don't need a number 6 nib, you don't need a number 8 nib for a pen to write well. These have all been really good performers. But let's look at ranking these pens. So the pen I'm going to put in at position number 6, this was dead easy. It's the Majohn C3. I love the looks of the pen. I love this transparent nature of it. We can see there we've got the converter. There we go. All plastic. I haven't tried it, but I would think you should be able to eyedropper this. We do have a little O-ring, but it looks like that's come loose. The nib on here is not the nib we started the month with. The nib on here is a Jinhao fine nib. We started the month with the Majohn nib that came with it, which was also a fine, except it was a pile of rubbish. It would dry out exceptionally quickly, so I could be writing away, it would write fine. As soon as I put it down for more than a couple of seconds, the nib would dry out. So my first thing was, well, maybe it's the ink, because I had Diamine Rainbow's End in there, which is a shimmer ink. So I cleaned out the pen. I put in Diamine Seize the Night, which is a standard ink. Exact same issue, so it wasn't the ink. I tried shimming through the tines. Again, no change. So eventually I gave up and I swapped the nib for a Jinhao nib from a Jinhao 992. And after that, it's written with 0 issues. So it was the nib that was the problem. It was that Majohn nib. As much as I love the looks of the pen, I say because it wouldn't write, a pen that doesn't write is of absolutely no value. So this comes in at position number 6. So that was the Majohn C3. Next up, at position number 5. This is where I had to start thinking about things. So position number 5, I'm giving to the Tasmanian Golden Sassafras pen. So this is a handmade pen. It's a kit pen. I love this wood. It's like a wooden sheath that they put over the kit that they get. I think it looks really, really nice. I do not like this section. This is the main reason for marking it down. That section just way, way, way too thin for me. Just look at that. Very uncomfortable, very slippy as well. We've got in here a converter. It is a push-pull converter though. It's not one of the screw type ones. Now, I can understand why. You know, it's a kit pen. The kits are relatively inexpensive, so it doesn't bother me too much. Not exactly what I would like. Writing wise, it writes really well. With this Diamine Dusted Truffle, it looks really, really nice. And this is another one with a shimmer in it. It handled the shimmer really, really well. It's just this thinness. Now this pen, whilst we're talking about it, will post. It posts by screwing on the end, but it doesn't seem to screw on quite well, and it's very, very long and very, very unwieldy. Like there, it just pops straight off. So not really a pen I would even think about posting. I say the wood though, I do like this Golden Sassafras wood. I think it looks very, very attractive. But as I say, we're ranking things, so I'm going to give this position number 5. So that's the Tasmanian Golden Sassafras. Just going to move the page up ever so slightly. We don't need to see that top entry now. We've already ranked that. Slowly, bit by bit, inching up. There we go. I went a bit too far then. So at position number 4. Had to think about this one. As I say, it's getting harder and harder as I go along to decide what rank each one should be. Position 4, I decided to give to the HongDian, the Light of Hope. I love the name of this pen. The name is absolutely brilliant. The length of the pen's not too bad. The colour of the pen, absolutely awesome. Cartridge converter. There we go. It's one of the twist type. It's got an agitator inside. Can you hear this, hopefully? No, stop. Get some squeaking when I'm taking the body on and off. Not a problem, because how often do you take the body on and off? The nib follows on with that blue colouring. It's a fine-sized nib. What lets this pen down is the width. It's just too narrow for me. Again, very similar to that previous one. It's just too narrow. I don't feel comfortable. Although it does feel a little bit wider than the previous pen, the Tasmanian pen. It also is nowhere near as slippy. But still not exactly comfortable. You can post this. Posted, to me, feels back heavy, feels too long. But unposted is very, very nice length. The nib writes really well. Had no issues with that. Again, had a shimmering in there. Absolutely zero issues with that. Just a very nice pen. Just not very comfortable to write with. So for this reason, this comes in at position number 4. So that's the HongDian, the Light of Hope. Position number 3. This time we're going to the Parker Jotter. This is a fairly old pen. It was actually made in 1996, I think it was. It was either 96 or 97. It's like a school pen. You know, it's a pen, I would say, aimed for, you know, the teenagers in school where they're experimenting and playing around with fountain pens. Got dark blue colour here. We've got the silver colour on the cap. Take the body off. Cartridge converter. This is a Parker converter. It's one of the downsides with this. It's not a standard international. It's a Parker. It's very light. Again, it feels a bit narrow. Very similar feel to what I was getting with that HongDian, the Light of Hope. It's a plastic section, not very slippy. Why I put this above the Light of Hope is the nib. So this is not the Parker nib that it came with. The Parker nib that it came with, when I got it, this was bought second hand. The nib, I'm not sure if it was damaged or not, but it just would not write very well. What I did is I actually lost down the sink when I was cleaning it, and it was such a shame that I lost it because it was a horrible nib, so really did not bother me. What I did do though is I decided to put a Kaweco nib in here. So this is a Kaweco double broad nib. Wow, do I love this nib in this pen. Very nice. The nib, oh, it's so beautiful. Again, in here we have Diamine Blizzard, which is a shimmer ink. No issues with that. Why I'm marking it down? It's the size. Why I'm marking it up? It's the nib. I just absolutely loved that. So this comes in at position number 3. So that's a Parker Jotter. We've got 2 pens left. Let me just move the paper up so we've got both of them there more central in the screen. Position number 2, I'm giving to the Scheffer Prelude. It's a rather classic looking black and gold coloured pen. Nice shape. Cartridge converter. This uses a Scheffer proprietary converter, so you need to be aware of that. Metal fittings. Just close this all the way down. The section is a lot wider, a lot more comfortable to hold. Nice shape in the hand, nice size. The nib is a Scheffer nib, but it's been ground down to a medium cursive italic. The nib, I'm going to say it's what makes this, but it's also what lets it down. I love the line I get. I love the line variation. So you can see here where we've got the wider line going down and then the narrow line going across. Very nice. The problem is, what I find is the edge of the nib does catch. So I can be writing not so much on nice paper, but certainly on the cheaper paper, which is what I use 70% of the time. It catches when I'm doing one of the side strokes, so it feels uncomfortable in that respect. As I say, I'm being extremely picky in saying this, but I have to differentiate between position 1 and position 2. At $94, it's the most expensive pen of the month, but I still think it's a nice pen, and it's a pen I do ink up quite a lot, so it's not as if I don't like it. It's just got its little niggles is the best way to put it. And as I say, because I'm ranking, I've got to rank this at position number 2. So that's a Scheffer Prelude, which means position number 1 for this month goes to the Kaweco Sport. This is in the green colour. I'm holding it this way so you can see the Kaweco Sport name there. Now I'm going to turn it around. This is a pocket pen, so it's not a large pen. It's brilliant. It's perfect as a pocket pen for me. The body comes off. What I've got in here is I've actually got a Kaweco converter. You have to buy this separately. And it's not a standard fit-in, so it's a proprietary converter. It's a push-pull type one, but it's easy to do. Doesn't hold a lot of ink, that's one of the downsides. You can get Kaweco cartridges, and you can refill those cartridges. I do have some Kaweco cartridges as well. I just thought for this, I'm going to use the converter. And I've got to be honest, what I end up doing is I eyedropper fill the converter rather than using that mechanism. When you put it inside the body, you leave this converter out. Obviously, if you push it down, you're going to push the ink out. The nib on here, this is a broad Kaweco nib. It's not a gold nib, it's a steel nib, just gold coloured. When it's unposted, it does feel very, very small. But as soon as you pop the cap on, as soon as you post it, you get a nice size pen, nice feeling pen. Bit on the light side. Section though, not too narrow. Nice and comfortable to use. And being a pocket pen, it's brilliant. You just chuck it in your pocket and you take it everywhere you go. So handy. So this comes in at position number 1. So that's the Kaweco Sport. Let's swap on over and we'll take a look at the additional pens that I brought in this month. Just dropping in to interrupt your regular programming. Would you like to help support the channel? If so, please consider joining as a member. As a member, you'll get early access to my videos. I normally upload them a couple of days before they go out, and as soon as they're uploaded, they'll be released to members. There'll also be a shout out at the end of the videos, and then as we get the members coming in, we'll actually chat among ourselves and work out what other perks, what other things you'd like me to add in. You know, would you like maybe a monthly live chat just for members? All down to us. So please, if you can, consider joining the channel. A link will be in the description down below. So I brought in 4 additional pens. The first one, the Kaweco Edge. This is very reminiscent of a Lamy 2000. I don't like the clip. A lot of people I've heard from, they don't like the clip either. It's a cartridge converter. This one's actually empty now. I've emptied out a load of pens this month, which was really good. It is very comfortable in the hand. It's still got a bit of dampness, even though I'd left it for about 3 days after washing it. So I'll have to leave this out in the air a little bit longer. So, yeah, nice wide section, nice length. Is postable. We've got a nice nib there. This is a medium nib. It's a very wet writing pen. The ink, I know it's fairly wet ink, is Diamine writer's blood. It appears nearly black in this, but as you write it off, it does start getting that nice, like dark burgundy tone. I enjoyed this. It's a really nice pen. If I'd have used it in my main selection, I've got to be honest, this could have been up there for position number 1. It was so enjoyable to write with. Helps if I actually get it in the camera, doesn't it? There we go. So that's the Kaweco Edge. Next pen I brought in is the Majohn M1000. I had in here Diamine Autumn Oak. I think a nice looking combo. Again, we've got a cartridge converter. There you go. Metal section. It's a comfy section. It's a bit slippy, but not unusably so. A load of weight in this pen. Although it looks like it's a wooden pen, I just think this is very similar to that Tasmanian one, where this is more of a wooden sheath over a metal body. there's quite a lot of weight to this. You know you've got it in your hand. Even when you've got it unposted, you know it's in your hand. Doesn't post. Does not post at all. I've just noticed I was very, very naughty there. This is a number 6 nib. It broke my rules. It wasn't a small nibbed pen. You can see that how the small nibs were going because I didn't even realise that. So that's the Majohn M1000. Up next, we've got, I'm just going to move this up, the TWSBI Eco. This is the orange version. The pen I've been using to write my scores down is also a TWSBI Eco. We've got a fine nib in this orange one. We've got a 1.1 stub nib in the green one. Just move that out of the way because it's the orange one I've been using. I love my Ecos. They're a nice pen. Nice and comfy in the hand. The section could do with being a little teeny weeny little bit wider, but it's not unusable. Nice fit. Bit on the light side. Piston filler. And I love the fact it's a demonstrator. I love seeing the ink flowing around. So the ink in here is Diamine Fortune's Gold. A very nice looking pen. It's a very utilitarian looking pen as well. You know, if you're going for beauty, you're not going to win a beauty contest with this, but it still looks quite nice, doesn't it? The one thing with this, I've got the wrong ink in it. With it being a fine nib, this ink is just too light. You know, a lot of paper, I can hardly read it. And yes, as it dries, I've noticed it does go a little bit darker, but just too light. What I need to do is maybe try that 1.1 stub with this, see if that makes any difference. So that might be something I'll do in the future, is pop this ink into the green one with that 1.1 stub. But other than that, you know, I've enjoyed it. It's been nice. And there's still some ink in here. I'm not going to clean it out. I'm going to carry on using it. So it's not unusable, but you just need to be aware of it. So that's the TWSBI Eco. The final pen that I brought in, this is the Jinhao 992. This is in the transparent green. Nice pen. Small pen. Very light pen. Very cheap pen. $2.22. You cannot go wrong with this price. It is very short. It does post. When it posts, it's really nice to write with. The section, not too thin to be unusable. Very similar to the Eco, but it's a nice usable section. So there we've got that 992 nib. The ink in here, Diamine Velvet Emerald. Wow, I love the colour of this ink. It's an off green is the best way I can describe it. It's just nice. It's quite attractive to write with. And in this fine nib, works really well. And I think with this transparent body, we've got not a bad pair in there. So yeah, quite like that. So that's the Jinhao 992. Let me just swap on over, then we'll fetch in the pens for one final look. So the pens that I've been using this month. At position number 6, the Majohn C3. Number 5, the Tasmanian Kit Pen. Number 4, the HongDian The Light of Hope. Number 3, the Parker Jotter. Number 2, the Scheffer Prelude. And the winning pen for the month, the Kaweco Sport. My additional pens, we've got the Kaweco Edge, the Majohn M1000, the TWSBI Eco, and last but by no means least, the Jinhao 992. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. What are your thoughts on my rankings? Would you have ranked the pens any differently? How about the additional pens? What did you think about them? Please drop any comments down below. Let's kickstart the conversation. Please hit the thumbs up button. Every time you like, every time you comment, just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.